When it comes to getting a good stand of alfalfa, growing up, my dad always said there are two really good times on our farm for seeding alfalfa, April and August. Well, guess what? You may have gotten some crop in April, and that's great, but if you just took a wheat crop off and alfalfa's in your rotation, this is a great time to get it established. You've got enough time to get a great stand out there, a deep root system, so it can survive that upcoming winter. We're going to talk about getting that crop off to a great start, so you have an awesome stand of alfalfa for years to come.
All right, the first thing that we want you to consider is the fertility. Here's the difference between alfalfa and corn, soybeans, and wheat. Alfalfa is a perennial crop. You've got one chance to get phosphorus and potassium down deep in the soil to feed that alfalfa for the next 3-4 years or however long you're going to leave that stand in. Get it done now. We would just really encourage you, take a look at how many total tons during the lifetime of that stand do you expect to take off that field. Put that into the Ag PhD fertilizer removal app that you can download for your smartphone or your tablet. Just look at that. Punch in alfalfa, say, all right, I plan to pull out this many tons over the next 3 or 4 years, and then fertilize according to that. So if it was me, for example, and I needed, let's just say, 300 pounds of potash and 150 pounds of phosphorus, just as an example, and that's probably way low for you, but let's say I needed all that, I'd put it all out today. Maybe it's 500 pounds, maybe it's 700 pounds. It might be some ridiculous number and you're gonna go, what? That makes no sense, Brian. Why would I do that all in one shot? Here's why. Because phosphorus and potassium don't move well in soil. Same thing with zinc, same thing with copper. So if you lay it on the soil surface after you've planted at some point over the next 2, 3, 4 years, it's not going anywhere. Your crop's not going to get the chance to use it. Put it down in the ground. You'll be much more efficient using that fertilizer.
There are a lot of farmers that will utilize a strategy of, well, in between cuttings, I'll put a low rate of fertilizer out there each time. And I get it, that can help supplement things along the way. But as Brian mentioned, with that soil movement component, especially with phosphorus, you just aren't going to get the full benefit of that phosphorus you apply in between cuttings. You may get it a couple of cuttings later, provided that you have a lot of rainfall. There's a good way to try this out on your farm. Split your field. If you think, oh, I don't know, I think Brian's a little bit crazy, which let's face it, sometimes he can be. And this is one of those things where you are going to invest quite a bit of money up front, but try it on part of your farm. What we've seen over many years is our results are so much better and our expression in that crop for several years down the road in terms of more tonnage with each cutting, it's there when you get that fertility out up front.
You know how every once in a while you'll hear something and you go, well, there's hope that that will work. There's a chance that will work. It felt to me like that's what Darren was saying, that if you put the P and the K out there between cuttings, there's a chance that eventually it'll work. Yeah, it'll eventually work when you raise your next crop 5 years later. It's not going to work in between. Unless you have very sandy soil, it's never going to work. So in our heavy ground with not a lot of rainfall, we're froze half the year, there's no possible chance that throwing P and K out in between cuttings is worth the money. Either do it up front or just save your money and let the crop mine out as much as it can. Now with things like sulfur, boron, even if you want to throw a little nitrogen out there, those things are leachable, and absolutely in between cuttings you can do some of that kind of stuff. You can also do some foliar feeding. If you want to do just very, very, very light rates foliar on the alfalfa plant, I get that. All those things are fine. But what I'm talking about is big rates of P and K. Put those out right now before you ever seed that alfalfa. Get them down in the ground where the alfalfa can use them. You will absolutely be money ahead. You'll get more tons. You'll get better removal of that fertility over the lifespan of that alfalfa. You will be happy.
The other thing you'll be happy that you invest in up front, besides good quality seed, of course, is getting that weed control taken care of. Now, when we look at pre-emerge herbicides for alfalfa, you don't have a whole lot of choices, but you do have a really good choice. Our product of choice is Eptam. It's one that does have a high volatility, meaning you need to incorporate it right away. So with Eptam to work perfectly, you'd ideally like to double incorporate that. So applying it with a tillage tool and then making another tillage pass crossways through the field to make sure that it's deep in that soil and protected. Now, when I say deep in the soil, I mean 1 inch to 2 inches deep. If you get that Eptam spread out, you're going to have good control on grasses. You're also going to have good control on small-seeded broadleaves, which allows your alfalfa to have no competition as it's coming up. So you're going to have a nice thick stand that you're going to benefit from for years to come.
So there are a lot of other herbicides that can be used in alfalfa. This is the one you need to use pre-emerge. Believe me, this is by far the best thing. Typically, we're talking about 2 quarts per acre. It has to be instantly incorporated, like Darren said. And he said 1 to 2 inches. Even if you get it a little too deep, understand that Eptam becomes a gas in the soil. It's going to work its way up. So I don't have a big issue if you get it down 3, 4, even 5 inches deep. It still can work. Sure, ideally, I'd like it placed right at 2 inches. You'll get the very best performance.
Okay, the other thing is perennial weeds. If you've got some perennial weeds out there, like thistles, for example, or let's say you have some dandelions out in this field, it may not be the best field for you to put alfalfa in. Let's just start with that. Now, you do have the option of Roundup Ready alfalfa and killing perennial weeds and killing dandelions. That's probably the biggest benefit that I see with Roundup Ready alfalfa. Many of the other annual weeds we can get under control with different products, but with those perennials and deep-rooted weeds that we're going to see out in the field, Roundup is your best option. So start with a good burn down if you must plant in that field. Kill those weeds before you do any tillage out there, so the Roundup has time to get down through that root system and kill all the new shoots as well. And then if you're planting Roundup Ready alfalfa, you've got the option of doing Roundup in crop as well.
Here's your one chance over the next 3-4 years to kill those perennials. So go with a big time rate. I'm talking 2 to 3 quarts of Roundup, whatever the highest labeled rate is, and control the weeds before you ever do any tillage out there. Leave it untilled for a long time in advance. Go spray a big time rate, wait a few days or maybe even a week, then do your tillage, and then go ahead and seed the alfalfa.
Well, summer seeding is a great time to get alfalfa established. Giving you some tips here in terms of fertility and weed control that really can't be made up later in that crop's life. So get those things taken care of up front for the most successful crop you can have. One other factor you'll need to deal with up front is controlling our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?